Hello everyone, today we'll be looking at adding negative numbers. So we're going to add positive and negative numbers as well as two negative numbers themselves. When you add a negative number and a positive number, the number technically becomes larger, but itself becomes smaller. And it all might seem confusing at first, but I'll explain it in this example. So we've got the problem -6 plus 4. And so we've got a negative number plus a positive number, and I'm going to use a number line to help us. We first have to start at the point of -6 at the far left of the number line. And because it adds us to add 4, it tells us to add, so we have to move to the right, and tells us that we have to add 4, which means we have to move 4 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we see it has led us to -2, and we know that's our answer because we've added, so we've moved the number to the right, and we've moved 4 units. So we can see that our answer is -2. Now here's where I explain how the number technically gets bigger, but it sort of gets smaller. So look at our number line. The way the number line works is that numbers to the right are bigger and numbers to the left are smaller. So since the -2 is to the right of -6 on the number line, -2 is bigger than -6. But negative addition is different in that the number gets smaller. You see how 6 became 2? Well, that's just the way it works. Be careful not to confuse it with positive addition. So if you had this problem, for example, and you forgot the negative, you'd answer 10, and that would be wrong. Also note that if a number is really big, for example, -6 plus 20, then if you use this method, then the answer will be 14. The number does actually get bigger. However, first it needs to go all the way down, -5, -4, so on to 0, before it can climb back up again. Here I've got the example -24 plus -16. Right. Now we've got two negative numbers adding against each other. It's important to note that if you have two negative numbers added together, then technically the number is going to be smaller, but the actual number is going to get bigger. You'll see what I mean again. Now it is a really important rule for you to know that if you have a plus and a minus sign right next to it, like we've got -24 plus -16, that becomes -24 minus 16. So a really important rule is that pluses and minuses always equal a minus. So we've got this sum now, and we can start using the number line for it. Since now this has become a subtraction, then we're gonna have to move left on the number line. I've made the gap between each number 2, so it will be able to fit. We start at -24 and we subtract by 2 units, 4 units, 6 units, 8 units, 10 units, 12 units, 14 units, and 16 units. So now we can see that -24 minus 16 equals -40. And we can confirm this again because we moved to the left because we were subtracting, and we have moved 16 units as shown here. But just read it from right to left. It's kind of confusing. Now that we know the answer, it's time for me to fully explain what I meant when I said that when you add two negative numbers, technically the number becomes smaller, but it looked as if it became bigger. So now we can see that because I said a little earlier that numbers that are on the left of the number line are smaller than the ones on the right. So we can see here, since -40 is on the left and -24 is on the right, -40 is smaller than -24, except 40 is bigger than 24. It's question time! I have only one question for you this time, and that is, what is the answer to -72 plus -44? Keep your answers, and I'll show them in the next video. Answer time! Last video, I asked you 3 questions. The first one was, question 1. Is the sum of an even and odd number even or odd? And the answer is odd. The reason for this is, imagine the number 2. That's even, right? The number 1 is odd. 2 plus 1 is 3, and that's odd. Same goes if you do the sum 2 plus 3, which equals 5, which is odd, or 12 plus 7, which is 19, which is odd. The second question I asked was, question 2. Name the factors of 32. Is 32 prime or composite? And the answers are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. And composite. This is because if you put any number in that factors list, for example 8, then 8 times 4 equals 32. So that makes it a factor. Same goes for 4 because 4 times 8 equals 32, and so on for 1, 2, 16, and 32. And it's also composite because there are more factors. The factors of 32 aren't just 32 and 1. There are more, 2, 4, 8, and 16. The last question I asked was, question 3. How else could you write 10 plus negative 4? And the answers are negative 4 plus 10 and 10 minus 4. So for the first answer, the reason that's possible is because in an addition, you can switch both numbers or any numbers and it still work. So that works for additions of 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers, any amount of numbers. And for the second answer, I was seeing if you guys had known anything about this before this video. And if you got it right, well done. And if you didn't, you would have learnt about it in this video. That's the end of the video for now, and I'll see you in the next one. If this video is helpful to you, please remember to leave a like. And if you're looking forward to some content in the future, by all means, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video.